The Skyline Story. New York City, a metropolis of dreams, ambition, and resilience. Its skyline is more than a collection of steel and glass. It is a living story written in stone, iron, and concrete. This is the history of New York architecture, a mirror to the city's soul, shaped by immigration, innovation, and imagination. Before the skyline, there was a shoreline, swampy, forested, and home to the Lenape people. In 1624, Dutch settlers arrived and established New Amsterdam. Their architecture was simple, steep gabled roofs, brickwork facades, and narrow footprints reminiscent of their European heritage. As British control took over in 1664, Georgian and federal-style buildings replaced Dutch traditions. Symmetry, brick facades, and decorative lintels came into fashion. Churches like St. Paul's Chapel, built in 1766, still stand today, a rare survivor of colonial architecture amid the steel giants. New York was still growing horizontally, not vertically. Materials were locally sourced: wood, clay, and stone. The city's buildings reflected practicality, not grandeur. The 19th century was a time of explosive growth. Immigration surged, the economy boomed, and New York became the gateway to the New World. This was the age of brownstones, cast iron, and tenement. Brownstone townhouses, especially in neighborhoods like Harlem, Park Slope, and the Upper West Side, offered beauty and function. Their Romanesque and neo-Greek facades became synonymous with New York domestic life. At the same time, the Gothic revival took hold. The 1846 Trinity Church at Wall Street, once the tallest building in the city, stood as a beacon of ecclesiastical splendor, with its pointed arches and soaring spire. And who could forget the introduction of the cast iron facade? In Soho, entire blocks were built with prefabricated iron pieces, making construction cheaper and more ornate. But urban growth had its dark side. Tenement buildings, cramped, poorly ventilated, often squalid, housed thousands of immigrants in conditions that inspired reform and regulation. In contrast to the city's dense urban grid, the mid-1800s saw the birth of a natural escape, Central Park. Designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux, it was the first landscaped public park in America, an urban Eden in a concrete world. As the 19th century closed, New York looked up, literally. Innovations like steel frame construction, elevators, and electricity gave birth to the skyscraper. In 1902, the Flatiron Building pierced the sky at 22 stories. It wasn't the tallest, but its triangular shape and Beaux-Arts detailing made it an icon. A new kind of city was rising, one built on vertical ambition. Architectural styles clashed and coexisted. Beaux-Arts grand, symmetrical, opulent dominated public. Buildings like Grand Central Terminal and the New York Public Library. Architects trained at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris brought classical grandeur to urban America. Meanwhile, Art Nouveau and Neo-Gothic appeared on churches, banks, and office buildings. Every corner of New York offered a different slice of architectural identity. The 1920s and 30s were a golden age of architectural audacity. With economic prosperity came a boom in construction. The city's skyline was reborn in a shimmering, symmetrical style. Art Deco. No structure embodied this better than the Chrysler Building. Completed in 1930, its gleaming spire and stainless steel ornament were attributed to the machine age and the American dream. 1 year later, the Empire State Building soared even higher. At 102 stories, it claimed the title of the world's tallest building, a symbol of hope in the shadow of the Great Depression. During this time, public-private partnerships birthed Rockefeller Center, an urban complex mixing commerce, art, and culture. Its geometric elegance and sculptural friezes exemplified Art Deco's fusion of art and architecture. But behind the glitter was grit. Slums still festered, and the contrast between penthouses and tenements widened. Still, the skyline had become New York's signature. World War XI brought a pause to construction, but after 1945, New York emerged as a global capital. The architecture reflected this shift toward function, minimalism, and modernism. In 1952, the United Nations headquarters rose along the East River. Designed by an international team including Le Corbusier, it was a glass and steel beacon of post-war optimism. Modernist giants like Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and Philip Johnson left their mark most notably with the Seagram Building, 1958, a paradigm of corporate modernism, sleek, rational, and elegant. Yet the era was not without controversy. Under Robert Moses, massive urban renewal projects razed entire neighborhoods in the name of progress. Highways split communities. Public housing towers like those in the Bronx and Queens aimed to solve urban blight, but often created new challenges. Modernism prioritized function over feeling. Beauty was stripped down, change was constant. By the 1970s, modernism's sleek glass boxes felt cold and disconnected. Enter postmodernism, a reaction that brought back color, ornament, and historical references. The AT&T Building, designed by Philip Johnson in 1984, shocked critics with its Chippendale top and granite facade. Was it a joke or genius? Either way, it signaled a shift. In the wake of the 1970s financial crisis, the city reimagined itself. Adaptive reuse became popular. Old factories were turned into lofts. Historic preservation gained ground, saving landmarks like Grand Central from demolition. The skyline began to diversify. Smaller boutique buildings emerged alongside towers. Times Square, once seedy and dangerous, began its transformation into a global media spectacle. The 21st century began with unimaginable loss. The attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001, scared New York physically and emotionally, but architecture played a key role in healing. In 2014, One World Trade Center opened, a shimmering tower of resilience, echoing the city's refusal to be broken. Designed with safety and symbolism in mind, it reclaimed the skyline and honored those lost. Meanwhile, sustainability, technology, and innovation became architectural imperatives. The High Line, a repurposed elevated railway, transformed urban design. It inspired the nearby Hudson Yards, a futuristic development of towers, art, and luxury. Today, architecture in New York is both global and local. Starchitects like Zaha Hadid, Jacques Ingalls, and Jean Nouvel leave their signature on glassy skyscrapers, while communities fight to preserve historic neighborhoods. In New York, architecture is not just built, it is lived. Every cornice, cornfield, and concrete wall holds a story. Each building speaks of aspiration, injustice, identity, and imagination. Architecture is how New York speaks to the world. From the humble Dutch farmhouse to the soaring towers of the future, it tells a story of constant reinvention. A city that rises, falls, and rises again. The skyline never sleeps. And neither does the story of New York architecture. Because in this city, the next chapter is always under construction.